everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're here for the first time, my name is Datari Ladeja and this is the D-Lo. I'm so glad to have you back, guys, but please, if you do like this content, share, subscribe, drop a comment in the comment box. We're growing this little family here on the D-Lo and we're almost at 400 subscribers, so please do share this video, like and subscribe. So today I want to talk to you guys about a topic that is quite interesting, and it's something that I hope that will be useful to you guys. I'm going to share some of my experiences and some of the things that I wish I had known before I got married. So I'm going to share some tips with you that have been useful to me, and please let me know if they're useful to you too, or if you have any tips that you'd like to share about what you wish you had known before you got married. This will be very useful to people that are wanting to get married, that are early on in their marriage journey, or even people that are already married and have been married for a long time but just want a fresh perspective. So let's get to it with the tips. So the first thing that I wish I'd known before I gotten married was that honesty is not always the best policy. Now, don't get me wrong, guys. I'm not saying that you should lie to your spouse. I repeat, I am not saying that you should lie to your spouse. Please don't go and quote me and say that I said that you should start lying. No. Basically, what I mean is that there's some certain situations where your honesty is going to make the situation way worse than it needs to be. Now, let me give you an example. Imagine you've both gone out to work and then you come back and let's say your wife cooks you a meal. And you're tasting the meal and the meal is kind of salty, it's off, it's not her best dish. Now, she asks you, babe, how's your food? You know, you enjoying it? Do you like it? At this point, what do you do? Definitely don't tell her that that meal is salty. It's not gonna help the situation. It doesn't benefit anyone. Sometimes you just have to literally just hold back your honesty and look holistically at the whole situation. In this situation, is my honesty gonna cause an argument? Is it gonna make the other person feel unnecessarily bad? Now, if it was completely terrible and you know you're vomiting with food poisoning, maybe at that point you can tell your spouse that you know the food wasn't that nice. But if you're not dying from that salt or dying from whatever is happening to you, then you know sometimes you don't always have to be that honest about it. You can literally just say, you know, something nice in that situation and avoid an unnecessary argument. Now, the second thing that I wish I'd known is that love is not enough to sustain your marriage. Now, love is a beautiful emotion, and it's presumed that if you're getting married to someone that you would actually love them. It definitely helps a lot. It helps with the emotional connection, it helps you bonding, and it just helps bring you guys closer together and sail through the rough times. However, there will be times that you don't wake up feeling in love and lovey-dovey and you know that lovey-dovey kind of feeling. There will be times when actually your spouse is acting very unlovable, and at that time you need more than love to sustain the marriage. You need understanding, you need friendship. It's good to go into a marriage thinking about love, but don't just decide to marry someone just because you love them. That would be a huge mistake. There has to be more. There has to be some kind of friendship. There has to be some kind of real understanding of each other before you actually get into a marriage. So the third thing that I wish I'd known is that there can sometimes be culture clashes within your marriage. Now, what you have to remember is that you're two completely different people. You were brought up in completely different ways. Sometimes there will be similarities, and the more similarities you have, I guess, is an added bonus. But you can't presume that your spouse will have the exact same perspective on the world or on your marriage or on the way that certain things should go. You will definitely have different opinions on things, and these opinions may be formed based on your upbringing or even based on what part of the country that you grew up in, or where you lived, or what school you went to, or who your friends were. So you have to understand that when your spouse says something that is the complete opposite of you, or that is the complete opposite of what you think, they're not necessarily wrong. They're just bringing a completely different perspective. So it's important to be open, understand that they're bringing a different perspective, and listen to it before you dismiss it and cause an unnecessary argument. Sometimes you can just discuss things and try and see things from their point of view. It really helps. Now, the fourth thing that I wish I'd known before getting married was that that marriage is one place where winning is not really always going to feel like a win unless you're winning together. So sometimes you will have disagreements with your spouse, and if you fight dirty and win, you're not going to feel good about it. If you say the wrong thing out of anger, or if you hit below the belt, or if maybe you cause an argument out of something that could have just been easily resolved, it is not going to feel nice winning. Often you'll have to come back tail between your legs and apologize. So to avoid that situation, what you can do is discuss things calmly. If you feel like you're not able to discuss things calmly at that point, you can go away and come back to the situation. Don't always try to win an argument because you're not going to feel good about it anyway. So it's one of those things that you just shouldn't bother doing. It's better if you win together. So you both look at the problem as something that is outside of the both of you, and both of you tackle that problem. The problem is not your spouse, the problem is the problem. So when you keep it to the problem, it actually feels a whole lot better, and you guys can win together instead of a one-sided win where one person feels really bad and has to apologize to the other person. Now, the fifth thing that I wish I'd known is that your definition of being a good husband or wife may not be the exact same as your spouse's definition. So you may think that you're trying so hard and the other person may think that you're not trying at all. And that can cause issues in your marriage if you don't get on the same page about what you expect from your spouse. So one thing that I'd recommend, and one thing that was really helpful for me, was to actually read this book. It's by Gary Chapman and it's called The 5 Love Languages. Now, once you understand your partner's love language, and I don't mean just, looking and guessing what their love language is, actually sit down and have a conversation. Maybe both of you can read the book together and ask the person, what is your love language? How do you express love? And how do you like to feel love? How do you like to receive love? Once you get on the same page with that, then it's really, really helpful for your marriage. And it means that one person is not going to feel like they're trying and trying and trying, and the other person is not appreciating their efforts. Also, when your spouse actually lets you know how they like to be loved, you have to be willing to be flexible and to change. You may come in with a definition of what a good wife or a good husband is based on what you've seen with your parents or based on what you just think it's meant to be. You have to be willing for that perception to change and for you to change and be flexible and adapt to the needs of your spouse. Now, the sixth thing that I wish I'd known before getting married was that you have to actually have a certain level of humility. Now, I consider myself quite a humble person, but when you get into a marriage, you actually have to stoop to conquer sometimes. Not every battle is worth being fought. Now, also along the lines of humility, in your family prior to getting married, you may have been the alpha dog. What you say goes. Maybe you're the crown prince, or your family's sweetheart, and you may come into your marriage with that same perspective that, look, if I say something, I don't understand why you're not listening to me, I don't understand why you don't agree with me, and you may come in with a little bit of a spoiled brat mentality. There's no space for that in your marriage. Like, listen, we don't care who you were in your family. You're now in a partnership and you guys are recreating and rewriting your own story. So you need to come into it with a little bit of humility, and it goes a long way, trust me. Now, the seventh thing that I wish I had known was that marriage is a partnership. Now, I know what you're thinking, that is like the most obvious thing. Obviously, you're joining together as one and you become partners in this thing called life. But I'm talking about a deeper kind of partnership than people often think of. Sometimes you can view your marriage almost like the same way that business partners view a partnership. And I'm not saying that your marriage is a transaction, it is so much more than that. But really, if it was a business partnership, there's some things that you would do to keep the partnership running smoothly. So you have to try and implement those same things in your marriage partnership. Now, if you were in a business partnership, what would you do to keep it running smoothly? One of the things that you would do is have meetings. So the same thing with your marriage. It's important to sit down and actually schedule times where you're going to discuss your marriage. It doesn't have to be too serious because sometimes then it can become a little bit confrontational. You guys can go out on a date, or cook, sit at home, eat, talk in a relaxed environment, and actually review your marriage the same way that you would review a business partnership. You can talk about the things that are going well and also the things that are not going so well. well as you perform this kind of appraisal or evaluation of your marriage. So there's nothing wrong with actually scheduling times to discuss your marriage instead of dealing with issues or circumstances when they arise. So you don't have to wait for the issue to arise. You can actually sit down on a monthly basis or, you know, every couple of months and intentionally discuss your marriage and processes that you may want to implement to make your marriage run a lot smoother. Now, the 8th thing that I wish I'd known before getting married is that you need to shake it up. You really need to keep your marriage spicy, and you need to try and find ways to do that often. Now, when you first get married, you can be in the honeymoon phase. And to be fair, for me, after 1 year of marriage, I'm still kind of in the honeymoon phase now. But within that honeymoon phase, you get to a point where, you know, you're so happy that you have someone that you can completely be yourself around. You know, you wake up in the morning, they're there, they've seen you at your best, they've seen you at your worst. And sometimes it can be really easy to fall into a place where you get a little bit too comfortable. Now, you have to remember that this is not your brother and this is not your sister. This is your husband or wife. So you need to not get into a place where, you know, you're always wearing your pajamas. You know, you come home, you rush straight into your pajamas. For me, I used to always just rush my wig off straight into my pajamas. Sometimes, you know, I'd just be a hot mess all the time. And I realized that, look, we're so early into this marriage game. I need to be keeping things on point. So that's one of the things that I think is really helpful for couples to remember. Yes, it's amazing that you have this closeness, you know, you're best friends, it's an awesome relationship, but please do keep it spicy. This is your spouse at the end of the day. You know, dress up, go out on dates, do things to keep your relationship exciting and romantic. Sometimes just surprise your spouse. It really, really helps to keep things going. Now, the 9th thing that I wish I'd known was that communication and forgiveness are way more key than you think to keeping your marriage strong and keeping it going. Now, it's really important that you communicate. Let your partner know what you need, let them know how you're feeling about certain things, and just discuss. Now, some people come into a marriage and feel that they're not good communicators, and sometimes you can just feel like that's the way I am. I'm not good at talking, I'm not a talker, or I don't want to talk about things. But it's really, really important because nobody is in another person's mind. So you have to actually practice that habit and be intentional about expressing yourself to your spouse. It really, really helps. And on the topic of expressing yourself, it's important to forgive quickly and not hold grudges. Try not to sleep on an argument if you can. I mean, I'm not saying that it is easy. Sometimes it's way easier said than done. But when you sleep on an argument, it's easy to wake up in the morning and just feel like, I'm not talking to this person, or just feel like you're so annoying, you know. And it's good to just wake up fresh and have left all of the issues of yesterday in yesterday. So communication and forgiveness are really, really key, guys. Don't sleep on them. It comes with practice, and I'm still really, really trying to learn the forgiveness and communication part of my marriage. So I guess it gets better with time. Now, the last thing that I wish I knew before getting married was that change can actually be so great for your marriage, but it can also be detrimental. Change can be the biggest risk to your marriage, but it can also be a catalyst to a greater, better, and stronger marriage. Now, when both of you are changing together and you're growing at the same pace, you're on the same page about things, it is lovely. It's the best feeling in the world. You're both growing, you're evolving, and it feels like your marriage is getting stronger and better. Realistically, you have to understand that one person may change or progress at a different pace from the other person. Now, within that gap between the progression of both partners, it may feel like there's a certain level of incompatibility. Maybe your interests have evolved, maybe the things that you think about have evolved, maybe the things that you like to discuss have evolved, and your partner may not be at the exact same level as you or at the exact same pace as you. It doesn't necessarily mean that there's anything wrong with that person. And to be honest, one thing that it's important to remember in your marriage is where one person is weak, the other person should be strong. You're a team, and for example, if you're playing football and someone gets injured, they put them on the bench. They don't kick them off the team. So it's important to just remember that that person may not really be evolving at the same time as you, but there may be periods where they're evolving and you're kind of in the same place. It's important for the person that's evolving or changing or maybe having different interests or different desires at a certain period of time to wait and play catch up with the other person. Don't necessarily put it down to incompatibility or feel like, maybe this wasn't the right person for me. You have to understand that everybody changes differently, and as long as you guys are growing and evolving together, whether it be at the same time or not, your marriage will always be better and stronger for it. So that's my little 2 pence, and those are the 10 things that I wish I'd known before getting married. As I mentioned at the beginning, I am not a marriage counselor or a marriage expert, so this is just my little, advice, and I hope that it has been helpful to you guys in some way. Please do drop a comment in the comment box if you'd like to share with me any tips that you would have liked to have known before getting married, and we can carry on the conversation. If you've liked this content, please do like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you can be notified anytime one of my new videos comes out. And if you feel that you know someone that will benefit from this video, please do share with them and let them know some of these tips as well. I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys in my next video. Thank you for always coming back and watching, and I'll see you again next time. Bye.